Back a nigga cheese, 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 cheese. Back a nigga cheese, 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 cheese. Back a nigga cheese, cheese, back a nigga cheese.
So Julius started running for his life like he Mahito, but Will was hawking him down. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Will winds up a punch and
Senpai.
Alright y'all, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking into how the beef between Will and Julius came to a close and what was known as the Grand Magic Festival. Now the Grand Magic Festival is an event at the academy held every 2 years that has different competitions and high mages that scout for talent to bring into their factions, like how super seniors recruit freshmen. You just gotta be the best in the game. Now before we get into the nitty gritty, we gotta introduce two new characters named Wistoria and Lehana, who both got beef with Julius, by the way. Now they're not that important in this episode, but it's good that I mention them because Wistoria does kind of show up a little bit often. But anyway, it's the day before the festival and people are already putting in parlays on whether they think Julius, Wistoria, or Lehana is gonna win the festival, since they're like the top 3 mages in their grade. And I can't even blame them, I would have been in that room too. The day of the festival comes, and we already see Will locked in, and the episode just started, bruh. That's how you know he on timing. Colette decides that her, Will, and Sion should team up. Now for context on Sion, he was like Will's #1 hater before Julius, so you can only imagine what that's like. So Sion finds out that Will is there and almost immediately starts hating on bro for no reason. While that's happening, Julius walks into the locker room and him and Will instantly lock eyes with each other, which causes Sion to feel like Will is ignoring him. Trust me, this will be important later on. So we cut to the event where we have my dude Mike Myers, who bet all of his bread on Wistoria along with this bum announcing the tournament. So how this game works is that there's teams of 3 and the first team that gets through all the competitions and reaches the crown first wins. Once they announce Will's squad, the crowd immediately starts clowning the team, including these 2 goofy ass dudes named Flip and Palm, bro.
Oh my god, bro. Oh hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
Trying to tell y'all, it's always the people with the bad names that be hating in this show. Like if they keep talking on my goat, I'ma have to play it calm, but this jump 5 will make him do a flip. His face gon' hit his hand, call that a face palm. Werkner was trying to talk Will out of it, but Will was like, nah, I'm straight. So the first game starts off and Will and his team is already cooking, bruh. Then out of nowhere, Sion starts getting flashbacks of when Will saved him one time, which makes him even more mad. Just like Edward when they got past his traps, he's still salty from that loss. Once Will gets to the woodland zone, he starts trying to cook up a plan, but instantly catches a beam through his body. Turns out it was just his cloak and it was a beam sent by Julius, of course. I thought my goat turned into ace, but he was like, won't let that happen to me though. And to make matters worse, Sion blasts a fire attack out of nowhere at both Will and Julius and starts yapping about stuff that don't even matter. With one of the things being that the reason he despises Will in the first place is because he refused to become one of his underlings when they were little. Like, gang, you serious right now? Roll the clip.
I can't go back. Come on.
Meanwhile, Edward over here watching it happen and is probably bricked at the thought of them being rejected by the scouts. Even Mike peeped it. I ain't never seen someone this dedicated to their hatred before. But Colette manages to break it up and lets Will go off. We then cut to Julius and his team walking into the arena like they're really the champions for real. And then out of nowhere, we see Will jump into the arena like he was landing into the Soul Society for the first time. The way that he landed should have said that he was on BT, because right after he tells this man Julius that he wants to challenge him. Like, who does that? If that was me, I would have been on the ground crying because my knees would have been burning. So you know, they both start chatting. Then Julius sets a smoke screen to make Will fight his clones using one of Alfaria's spells. Like he didn't just copy her whole flow. Will asked this man how did he learn it, and you know what his response was? You know what this goofy's response was? Because I'm talented. Like, get a load of this guy, bro. He starts talking crazy about Alfaria, which pisses Will off. Will breaks out of the ice that he placed him in and starts charging at him, but he gets trapped inside of a cone spell and Julius launches an iceberg at the cone, which hits it, and just like that, the fight is over. Julius starts flexing the fact that he could use Elfie's ability and the crowd hypes him up. But wait, what's this? Out of nowhere, the ice starts breaking and Will pops out talking about the spell helped him to cool his head. Darn tootin' it did. because right after he tries to attack again, but Will ends up hiding in his attack and takes out his teammates the same way he did last time. Like, how do you get violated in the same way twice? Then Will start talking about how Julius didn't really master the technique. Julius tries to go in for a couple more attacks, but just look at Will's reactions, bro. Then Julius starts glazing himself, I guess as a power up, but clearly that ain't work, because when Will jumped at him and he tried to block it with ice, Will sliced it down and he got hit by his own ice in the stomach, bro. Like, how do you get hit by your own ice? Once his clones started to disappear, Julius started being like, how do you know more about the power than I do? Well, yeah, fun fact, Will grew up with Wistoria, so he knows pretty much all of her abilities. So when Julius tries to attack again, Will just slices through it and then tells him that that spell that he was using, Elfie made that when she was just 2 years old. Bro, even at this point, he made a self-reflection and realized that he might potentially be ass, bro. But he didn't accept that fact all the way because he creates more clones thinking that they would help. But obviously not. And if he wasn't cooked before, he is now, because the theme starts playing, and this is when I started doing jumping jacks in my chair. Julius starts grinding his teeth to the point where he starts bleeding and releases one final attack on Will, which does not work and has him shook. So shook to the point where he's literally yelling at his clones to stop Will. And I can't even blame him. Just look at this swordsmanship. It's beautiful. So Julius started running for his life like he Mahito, but Will was hawking him down. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Will winds up a punch and absolutely rocks this man so bad to the point where they had to show it in 3 different angles, bro. Y'all remember when Luffy knocked out that celestial dragon? This moment is exactly like that. I don't want to hear any debates. Colette and Sion, who's trying to stay nonchalant and mysterious in the back, catch up to Will and everything seems to be okay. But they forgot one important thing, which was to get the crown. It was too late though, because Wignall and his team got to it first and won the game. But hey, I'm happy for my boy Mike though, because his parlay hit. He about to be eating good tonight. But besides that, Colette was happy for Will, I was happy for Will, Sion was still salty, and Julius was in the kitchen washing dishes like the true person he is. And then when Will went back to school, everybody was on his body, trying to get him to be on their team for the next exam they had coming up. They all wanted a piece of Will, me included. But that marks the ending of the Grand Magic Festival, which is one of the best arcs in this show so far, in my opinion. But let me know if y'all want part 3 of the next exam that they got coming up. But I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a video on that yet, because I wasn't really thinking about doing it at first. But just let me know what y'all think, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace. You say too late.